Australian cattle prices remain at record levels and they are some of the most expensive in the world at the moment. The reason for this is the historically low cattle inventory and favourable seasons in many parts of the country that have driven very strong producer demand to restock. So Nigel, what are your thoughts on cattle prices and the availability of stock?
Availability has been very tight. I would say there's probably been a slightly lower volume of interested buyers at the market rate. You could nearly pinpoint people that are back in the market at these high prices are probably those that are fortunate enough to be selling on that market as well. But we're certainly in record territory.
Thanks, Nigel. The Australian cattle industry is currently in a pretty unique position, or at least one we've not experienced in decades. Last year we saw our lowest male cattle slaughter since 1986. I use male cattle slaughter numbers as an indicator of the number of breeding cattle in the system. Because if you assume that all male cattle have a finite life in the system for about 2 years, then, along with assumptions around branding rates and death rates, you can estimate the number of breeding cattle in the system 2 years earlier. The 2020 slaughter numbers tell us that we currently have one of the lowest breeding herd numbers in many years. Official numbers had the Australian cattle herd at 26.4 million head and about 12.15 breeding animals in 2018. Based on an estimated branding rate, this should have produced about 4.62 million cattle, but we recorded a number of 3.4 million, suggesting official figures might be overestimating how many breeding cattle we have out there. If we go back 35 years to when we had a similar male cattle slaughter, official figures showed a breeding herd of about 9.96 million head, or 2 million less than what official numbers suggest is out there now. So, potentially this hole in the Australian cattle herd is much larger than we think. Normally, we presume a recovery would take about 3 to 5 years, but it is highly likely that we're in for a much longer process this time around. Compounded by the fact that we believe many producers have and continue to take advantage of higher cattle prices to fatten and trade cattle rather than necessarily focusing on rebuilding breeding numbers.
Thanks so much, Angus. It was great to hear Nigel's perspective from the ground.
Yes, it was. I think such a long rebuild means that cattle supplies will be limited for a number of years. If you're a breeder, rebuilding your herd, now's the time to make those important decisions on your genetics and your future markets. For backgrounders, in this high price environment with scarce cattle, supply chain relationships will be critical.